I'm gonna give you a confession. I don't like modern video games. I hate it when I see some stupid microtransactions, games being released where they're 50% completed and filled with glitches, and more importantly, games like Until Dawn and The Quarry with its only type of gameplay being 70% of nothing but walking. It's mind-boggling to me. The only time I do play modern video games is where I'm working on getting a platinum trophy. And by the way, I should probably consider making an update video on that soon. But to me, only a few times I would find myself collecting a new video game due to being an anticipating release, and God of War Ragnarok was one of those games. Welcome to Brief Exams, the show that I made back in the day, but wasn't a fan of it because it served no purpose until now, where I can use it to give my opinions on newer video games that I've recently been playing, or just a casual discussion about video game slangs and some behind the scenes stuff as well. And today, I'll be talking about God of War Ragnarok. Now, just a few housekeeping rules before we start.
Oh, did somebody say a little bit of housekeeping? Okay, that is so fucking gay.
This is going to be a story spoiler-free video. Yeah, I know the game has been released for a few weeks now, but it is still a newer video game released on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, so I won't be talking about the second and third act of the plot. I can talk about some of the gameplay features, but not all of them, and I'll be showing at least 2 hours of my recording gameplay footage. But having said that though, I will still be talking about this game in some shape or form, so if you don't want to be potentially spoiled, I'm happy for you to leave the video now. Having said that, I will do my best to not spoil the story for you. This game cost me a whopping 125 Australian dollars, which makes it the most expensive video game I ever bought. So, was the money worth spending? And did God of War Ragnarok live up to my expectations? Well, to keep it short and simple, my expectations were very high, and after playing it for 20 to 30 hours in total, they took my expectations and raised it by ×5. This is a great game, and it sets out what I want out of it. It improves on some of the flaws God of War 2018 had and fixes them. To me, the story between Kratos and Atreus steals the show once again. They just have so much chemistry, and it is nice to see how much progression they have made from the previous game to throughout Ragnarok. It leaves you feeling different emotions. I felt angry, sad, joyful, and even laughed my ass off at certain events because the jokes just came out of nowhere. For a video game that is more story driven, it is a good story. I always love Kratos' character, from being a vengeful person to somebody who just wants peace of mind. And you definitely see that story unfold as well with the bond of Kratos and Atreus. The secondary characters does a nice job as well. You still have Freya, Mimir, and many other characters from the previous game making an appearance. Some of them won't have much time on screen as you have new characters to introduce, but I personally don't mind it. And the new characters you see are a welcome addition to the plot this game presents. Brok and Sindri were one of the highlights for me in God of War 2018, and they have a much bigger role in Ragnarok. And by the way, Sindri is just an absolute diamond that should be protected at all costs. So if you liked them before, then you'll like them even more here. As far as gameplay is concerned, it is roughly the same, so you won't have much trouble here. They have added new additions for the gameplay, like a new weapon and new relics to mix and match your playstyle. You can customize Kratos and Atreus to how you see fit, from different types of armor, unlock some skills in the skill tree. I feel like there's a bit more combat here, as I always find myself fighting baddies as I head towards my destination. And I do feel like there's a much bigger focus on strategy with heading into combat, with keeping an eye on what the enemy is about to do so you can plan ahead. The game does let you know when and what the enemy will be doing. Say, if there's a yellow ring that highlights, then you can block it and parry if you're quick enough. If there's a red ring, then you have to move out of the way to avoid getting hit, and if there's a blue ring, then you can stop their attack by hitting them with your shield. the game will get harder as you progress, so definitely consider upgrading your weapons and armor. Personally, I didn't really upgrade my stuff as much because I'm not only such a badass, but also I want to save up my points for a platinum trophy, which I'm hoping to get soon or now, depending on the recording of this video. I like the gameplay here. I felt it's more improved over God of War 2018, and I believe it's more fun to participate in. And throughout the game, you have many collectibles to find, side quests or favors is what the game likes to call it, and to fully complete many realms like finding some artifacts, throwing your axe at Odin's ravens, and many more goodies. The boss fights in Ragnarok are so much better this time around. One of the things I hated about God of War 2018 was the repetition of the bosses, as I felt like I was facing the same rock giant as before, and that was pretty much 70% of the entire bosses. In this game, there's more variety of bosses, new creatures to take on, and more threats to discover. And while I did see the return of rock giants, but thankfully there were not many of them. Now I do have to mention that I have a few issues within the game itself. Don't worry, these are only just nitpicks. It never distracted me from the overall experience, but I just find some of these to be annoying. For starters, I'm not a fan of enemies having a level number on the side, because at the end of the day, I was facing against the same group, but only this time, instead of them being at level 2, they're on level 5. I much prefer seeing new different versions of the same person, maybe with different weapons for example, instead of just seeing the level numbers. It's okay to have him in a JRPG genre like Persona, but I just don't like him in different games. And unfortunately, that seems the way how things are going with newer video games. I do think the soundtrack sounds really good, but I never thought to myself they were a massive highlight in the game, as I think the music here is only there to serve its purpose for the cutscenes. So for me, the soundtrack is a bit forgettable. When you're about to wall climb or head towards somewhere, you have paint marks on the wall indicating where you should go next. I personally think the game doesn't really need them, as perhaps using your eyes to see where the next objective is could be a lot better and rewarding. It gives you an opportunity to look at the environments the game offers if you miss out by mistake. And another nitpick issue I have is the camera. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't like the camera here in Ragnarok or even back in God of War 2018. From start to finish, the game's camera has 0 cuts, so it feels like you're taking part of the journey yourself or watching one massive movie. It's very impressive and at times breathtaking, don't get me wrong, but it's okay to have a few camera cuts here and there. It's not going to be the end of the world if you transition to a different camera shot. To me personally, there were a couple of scenes where the game goes silent and it has the camera staring at the character for some time, making it seem awkward. And in my opinion, it's probably one of those scenes where a camera cut is really needed to keep everything rolling in a straight line. And within the gameplay, the camera is a bit too close to Kratos, but again, these are just nitpicks I have with the game itself. So yeah, I have managed to finish the story and I'm replaying it again for a second time just to make sure my brain catches certain things as I work towards my way of getting a 100% completion. It is still too early for me to rank God of War Ragnarok and give it a fair score out of 10, but if I had to give my overall thoughts about it now, it's a really great video game. St. Monica Studios really gave it their all here, providing some improvements of the gameplay, a whole lot more different types of bosses, and in my opinion, delivering some of the best storytelling I've ever seen. Some developers out there should take notes from Ragnarok. And I reckon this game has a lot of momentum heading towards Game of the Year, rivaling against Elden Ring. So if you're up for an engaging story, fun gameplay, and interesting characters to meet along the way, I 100% recommend playing God of War Ragnarok. Again, it can be expensive for some people, so you can always wait around when the Christmas sale arrives if you're looking to save up a bit. But regardless, it's a fantastic game and it can definitely be in discussions as one of the best games on the PlayStation 5. But anyways, that's gonna wrap up this brief exam. I thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this kind of format, then let me know in the comment section below and I will consider on making some more of them. And with that note being told, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Instagram, the link will be down in the description box below. And as always, take care, thank you for watching, and just remember to eat your vegetables, boy.